light at the end of the tunnel, a turning point for the economy. You've given lots of examples about wage growth. You've talked about the effect, finally ending the austerity years of paying back the budget day by day by day, and all of that. It feels like a really, really important moment.
Well, there is light at the end of the tunnel, because what we're about to see is debt starting to fall after it's been growing for 17 continuous years. That's a very important moment for us. But we are still in the tunnel at the moment. We have to get debt down. We've got all sorts of other things we want to do. We've taken a balanced approach over the last couple of fiscal events, using flexibility that we had to continue paying down debt, but also to provide additional support to our public services, to invest in Britain's future, and to reduce taxes for families and small businesses who are feeling the pressure.
Well, for the 11 million people about to be hit by the next round of welfare cuts, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Are you going to be able to help them in any way at all?
Well, look, there's been quite a lot of speculation in the media about what the OBR numbers will be when they're published on Tuesday. I suggest we wait until we see the numbers. This is not a fiscal event in itself. I won't be making tax or spending announcements on Tuesday. What I will be doing is signalling some areas where we want to consult ahead of the budget in the autumn. We should be very careful about looking at single sets of figures, 1 quarter or 2 quarters. We need to look at what's happening sustainably in the economy. And if there is the flexibility, the space to do something, then we'll decide in the autumn how we're going to use that. But we will continue to take a balanced approach, addressing the debt problem, investing in Britain's future, reducing taxes for hard-working families, and putting money into our public services.
Simple question. Is austerity over?
Well, most people take that to be a reference to the public sector pay cap. Yeah. And we've removed the 1% pay cap on public sector pay. As you know, unions and management right now are in discussions on a settlement for nurses and other agenda for change staff in the NHS, which I hope will lead to a pay settlement which satisfies workers in the NHS, but is also fair to taxpayers, because it tackles some of the challenges that we have in the NHS workforce and makes it more effective and efficient. The
working families affected by these welfare changes, for instance, £200 a year worse off on average, that feels like no light at all at the end of the tunnel for them. Can I ask you also about local authorities? Because all across the country, you know, Tory local authorities as well as Labour ones are screaming with pain. They feel that austerity has been pushed absolutely to the possible limits, and that they are now, in the words of one of your colleagues, facing a financial precipice. Isn't it something you absolutely have to do ahead of these local elections to give them a little bit of relief at last?
Well, just to be clear, this is not a fiscal event on Tuesday, so I won't be making fiscal announcements. Local authorities have well over £200 billion of core spending power over the 5-year period from 2015 to 2020. They've got reserves of £23 billion. That's higher than in 2010, £8 billion higher than in 2010. But look, local authorities have done an incredible job in delivering efficiencies over the last 4 years. And of course they're under some pressures. We understand that. At the spring budget last year, I put an extra £2 billion into social care because of the pressures there. Local authority. We've also given them. We've also given them greater flexibility through the precept in the recent local government settlement, so that local authorities now have £9 billion worth of additional dedicated spending for social services over the next 3 years.
That is an actuarial answer to people who are screaming with pain in terms of the system being absolutely a breaking point.
And look, we understand that there are pressures in the system. We look at these all the time. We discuss them with colleagues across local government and indeed in spending departments across Whitehall. And as I said, when we get to the autumn budget, we'll look at the numbers then. I'll be paving the way in this autumn budget 2018 for a spending review in 2019, which will look at public spending from 2020 onwards, what the total envelope should be, how we allocate it between individual departments and indeed local government.